Imagine if the hero that was summoned to save the world preferred to have a peaceful life, but while he takes care of his small farm, the voluptuous demon queen takes over the world to the point of unifying every race under her without a way to fight against her. Humans became her slaves and even started to be against the hero. All of that happening while the legendary one is enjoying his tranquil life. The problem is that the queen wants to defeat the hero to prove to everyone that she is the pinnacle of all beings, so she did all that she could to find the legendary hero, but what she found wasn't as easy to deal as she expected. But all of that starts by telling us that this is a world with all races you can imagine, from simple humans to legendary dragons and everything in between. And at this moment, all races are at war with the Queen of Demons. However, even with the strength of all races against her, a demon army with the queen is easily destroying everything. The beating was so intense that humans began to surrender, causing several rebellions. And it was with the unfolding of this war that Elizabeth, the strongest demon queen in all the history, assumed the position of ruler of the world and of all races. At that moment, she sits on the throne. A priest speaks to her. Elizabeth, do not think that you have won. In the future, our hero will come and will completely defeat you. One of her minions comes and kicks him in the head, telling him to respect the queen. This minion of hers is a human who was trained to be the hero, the savior of the prophecy, but he betrayed all of humanity. He takes on a demonic form and moves towards the priest to kill him. But suddenly, the queen tells him to stop and asks the priest, "What is this talk of a hero and a prophecy that ends in the queen's defeat? You filthy human, explain what this means. There are more than 1,000 worse ways than death to make you suffer." The priest explains that the prophecy tells that when a hero appears and removes the sword stuck in the ground, it will be the day when humanity will destroy the demon race and regain control of the earth. The sword is there in the central hall. If you want, go take a look. She goes there, stares at the sword, and thinks, so when the warrior pulls this out, I will die. Interesting. Let's see when that's going to happen. Then she prepares her entire army for the arrival of the so-called great hero. And a year passes, then 2 years pass, but then 3 years pass, 4 years, and there's no one left properly guarding the castle entrance. 15 years later, where the hell is the hero who hasn't shown up yet? Life in the city has even returned to stabilize. The races are all living peacefully. Trolls, lizards, humans, elves, all living in peace. And because of this, most people don't even want the hero to return. They are insecure because they know that if the hero returns, there will be a war. A lot of people will die, and they will have to rebuild the entire empire again. Even a faction against the arrival of the hero has been created. No one wants the hero to come. In the hall, the queen asks, "Does anyone have any news of this bastard who hasn't come to kill me?" The elf tells her that she has contacted all the trees, plants, and insects on the entire planet. No one knows where the so-called hero is. The dwarf says he's dumb and can't collect any information. But of all the weapon shops and blacksmiths in the world, no one has heard of the hero. The trader who is now representing the human race says he doesn't even think it's worth worrying about anymore. Probably the hero doesn't even stand a chance against the queen anymore. But the bull demon who is on his side there already warns. Be careful, the queen is not afraid of the prophecy. She wants the prophecy to happen. She wants the hero to come here and fight her. Better not talk too much about it because she's been irritated for 15 years. The elf says, in fact, this prophecy is probably a farce, and this hero doesn't even exist. At that moment, that guy who had warned the queen that the hero was going to come and kill her enters with a sign from the Anti-Hero Arrival Association. The guy changed completely. Angry, the queen grabs him there with her hand of darkness and asks, "You didn't say there was going to be a hero of prophecy who was going to come and pull this damn sword here. Where is he?" The WoW #1 fan of her says that, in fact, she is so strong that the prophecy even failed to activate because humanity couldn't create a being as powerful as her. The queen's minion agrees with him. "That's true, my great queen. You don't even need to worry about this hero anymore. There's no chance for him." But he gets a thick tail slap in the face. The queen puts the priest on the wall and says, "Where is this damn hero? I've reached the top of the world, but I need to kill him. Otherwise, everyone will think I'm afraid of the prophecy. Where's this damn guy?" Shigen says she studied all the powers of this planet to learn the magic of the end of the world, just to face him. But where is he? At that moment, she stares at the sword and says, "Okay then, since you didn't come to me, I'll come to you." And she starts trying to pull the sword. Everyone is watching in horror saying, "Your Majesty, don't do it. You will die. The sword was made to kill you." Energy begins to explode all around the place. The queen is sweating, and everyone starts flying, having to protect themselves. She uses another wave of power and blows up the entire castle. However, with this, she pulls out the sword of prophecy. Who said only the hero can take this out? At that moment, she can feel for whom the sword is calling, and her gaze begins to sweep the planet toward a little house, a small farm in the middle of nowhere, and she says, "So this is where you've been hiding?" Then she uses a forced teleportation. Her subjects beg, "Please, your Majesty, don't go. Allow me to serve by your side, Queen Elizabeth." We then see life in that little farmhouse. A boy is there peacefully with his straw hat, wiping the sweat from his face and saying, farming is so peaceful." And he really is the legendary hero. We see how his life was before being reincarnated. He was a guy who worked all day, and he hardly had any hobbies. He didn't play video games, didn't read anything. The only thing he liked to do was watch some farming TikToks on the way to work, and he always thought, man, if I could live a life like this, just farming and without worries, it would be so good. And then he was transported to this world. The beginner system taught him how to do basic survival things, like using some weapons, how to hunt, and he really liked it. This had always been the farmer's life he wanted, but then the system started warning him. Congratulations, hero, you have completed the beginner stage. You can now start your adventure. But he thought, why start the adventure? Well, it's so peaceful here on my farm, I'm not in the mood. The system explained. After you leave the beginner village, you will encounter many people in this world. You will learn many skills and magics. You will learn swordsmanship and become stronger. And when you become the legendary hero, you will kill the demon queen. Please start your adventure now. But he thought, I'm not interested in killing the demon queen. Let her be. I just want to stay here and live peacefully. But the system kept insisting. No, you can't do that. The demon queen is killing everyone. Please start the adventure. Start the adventure. Every day he was spamming this to the protagonist. But he soon realized that besides complaining, the system couldn't do anything else. So he decided to live there forever. Since there's the beginner village where the hero starts, it comes with a protective barrier to increase survival chances in the beginning. So the place is undetectable, and time there still flows differently to help the hero evolve more. The days are much longer. He can plant, hunt, forge, meditate, all in the same day. Sure, he still doesn't understand anything about swords and magic, but that's not important. He doesn't feel like leaving here anyway. He'll just stay here with his simple life, doing his farming, very peaceful. But then one day, the system got angry and started cursing at him, saying he was only exchanging points for farmer items. And that was a disgrace. It was a shame for the system. He was brought here to kill the demon queen. With that, the system collapsed and exploded. Since then, he never received a message again, and life became more peaceful than ever. He's there on another day of his collection, saying it's time to eat. He realizes he forgot his little axe out in the forest, so he'll have to go back. But at that moment, the skies began to darken and gather energy, and the protagonist thought, oh no, just now. On the other hand, the queen appeared in the sky saying, finally found the legendary hero of all prophecies. Our hero was running because he left some clothes on the clothes line with some fish. And if it rains, everything will get wet and ruin. While taking things off the clothes line, he feels relieved. Thank goodness I managed to get here in time. If it had rained, my fish would be wet. My clothes too. I wouldn't even have anything to wear tomorrow. At that moment, a mechanical dog beside him starts barking. Our protagonist tells him to go inside because it's going to rain. But the little dog nods, indicating for him to look up. Our hero thought, what's that thing up there, son? The queen, hearing this, gets irritated. What do you mean by calling me a thing? He realizes she's getting angry and apologizes. I wasn't seeing clearly. You're kind of far away. The queen decides to check if he's the hero and sends something in his direction. When it gets to his side, it's the sword that surrounded him and went straight to his hand. So it's confirmed, right? He's the hero. On the other hand, our hero is all scared. He doesn't even want this sword, telling her, take it back, I don't want this thing here. The queen, seeing that he doesn't even want the sword, starts getting irritated, thinking, is he hiding his true power? I, Elizabeth, the strongest demon queen in history. I will obliterate you. The protagonist is dying of fear and annoyed because the system had said it was impossible to find him there. The little dog keeps barking at the demon queen, and the protagonist finally understands. Following the logic of the prophecy, it was inevitable that one day they would meet. So there's not much more to say. He drops the sword and walks back home as if he's accepting his fate. I'm going to die anyway, so I'll die peacefully in this house here at least. I've never practiced anything. I have no sword skills. I have no magic, so I'll lie down in this bed and be blown up. However, from the queen's perspective, she interpreted everything differently, as if he'd have told her that he didn't even need to defend the house, that only his little dog was more than enough, and that she should come at him with everything she has. Obviously, she didn't like that. This cursed hero is arrogant. She immediately sends a bunch of meteors towards the house. However, the little dog starts calculating her power. He prepares a barrage of missiles, shoots in her direction, and stops everything. Looking at that, the queen thinks, I didn't expect the great hero of legends to be so arrogant. Are you really going to rely on an advanced magical tool with consciousness? But in my presence, everything's inferior. The skies then turn purple and she prepares a devastating power, saying she's tired of playing games. However, the little dog once again does the calculations, conjures a black ball, and sends it towards her power. She tells him to stop being disobedient because that power was meant to destroy this entire continent. But when the little black ball touches the power, it turns into a black hole. It absorbs all of the queen's power, who disappears instantly. Looking at the house, she's baffled, thinking, what? Did my magic disappear? What did he do from inside that house? The protagonist is inside, lying on the bed, just waiting for death to come. The queen then descends from the skies to fight the little dog. It seems I underestimated you, didn't I? She unleashes her maximum power, saying that now it will be 100%. The little dog once again prepares his missiles and a huge explosion occurs. Meanwhile, the protagonist is there sleeping. After a while, he wakes up wondering, Am I dead already? Not dead yet. Huh. What's going on? Strange, I'm still at home. Let me take a look outside. Hesitant, he goes to grab the doorknob. He's afraid to open the door and find the queen that's ready to kill him. So he just takes a peek. And there she is, holding the little dog all destroyed. Our protagonist calls out the dog's name, Wankai. And the queen, in a mocking tone, says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I had to completely destroy this magical tool of yours that you're so proud of." Our protagonist is scared, saying, "Can't we talk a little bit, queen?" The queen replies, "Of course, right after I kill you." But inside, she's thinking how unbelievable the situation is. How did that magical tool make me use all my power? Is this the end of the queen? And then she faints there, falls flat on the ground. Our hero rushes to help her, asking if she's okay. And the deactivation of her armor begins, which was sustained by magic. Everything covering her starts to fade away. And our boy obviously has a nosebleed as usual. Sometime later, it's already night. She wakes up in bed handcuffed. As soon as she notices this, she thinks, "Damn, how did I, the legendary Queen Elizabeth, the strongest of all millennia, get defeated so pathetically? And the worst part, instead of taking the opportunity to kill me, he imprisoned me. All of this is just for him to show me his power." She tries to free herself but can't and thinks, "Damn it, another legendary level tool which I've never heard of. How much more power does this hero of legends hide from me?" She looks around seeing chess pieces, playing cards, and thinks, "I've never seen any of this around here. Apparently, this hero is much more treacherous than I imagined. I really underestimated him." At that moment, our hero enters the room with some snacks in hand. She looks and says, "All right if you want to kill me, but don't expect me to beg for mercy." But our protagonist is just thinking how annoying this queen is. She's too strong. This is my only way to survive. So he tells her, "Can't we talk? These handcuffs I put on you, it was just a precaution because I'm very afraid of you. You're formidable." The queen is a bit confused, thinking she's being underestimated. He says, "I think we, had a misunderstanding. I'm going to take these handcuffs off you so we can talk peacefully, okay?" But from her perspective, she's interpreting what he said like this. "Sorry if you hadn't realized from the beginning the difference between us, believing that you were strong enough to challenge the hero, okay. I'm going to release you here for you to realize that you can't do anything and you're going to obey everything I say." Then she thinks, this bastard, how dare he threaten the demon queen. He then says, "Ready, I already released you from the handcuffs to show you that I can't do anything against you. Got it? Let's talk." The queen is frustrated. "Damn it, I underestimated him too much, as strong as I am. I also have to know when to surrender, but he will pay dearly for this arrogance in the future." Our protagonist leaves the room trembling and says, "Go rest now." Our hero breaks the fourth wall and says to us, "You must be wondering, why didn't I kill the demon queen? But I've read in the books of this world, and it's extremely common for the demon queen to be revived immediately after dying. So if I kill her, she will come back. The only way to resolve this conflict here is by ending this conflict. There can no longer be a fight between the queen and the hero. As long as I'm not a threat to her, I'll be able to become her friend and we'll live happily ever after." The crazy hero is laughing like the Joker. The queen is just thinking, "Damn, he's still laughing in my face." The prota grabs the little dog there and says, "Hey buddy, you're all beat up, huh?" The queen, seeing that situation, says, "Oh, so this is your most powerful magical tool?" Our hero thinks it's not exactly a magical tool. It was just a little invention I made when I was kind of bored. And he responds to her, "Yeah, you could say that. It was one of the last things I developed." The queen lets out a little smile, planning, "Perfect, now's the time." He was careless. By taking off my handcuffs, he allowed me to use my secret abyss magic and instantly recover. And now, without the protection of your robot, the balance of this fight is completely in my favor. It's time to kill you. Ready for the attack, she said. "Sorry for breaking your things, great hero." But he replies, "Relax, it's okay. His memory card is still here." Behind him, she's thirsty. "This is the perfect moment. I'm going to end the hero of legends now." At this point, our hero says, "Luckily, I have 6 more of this little body of his prepared, so you don't need to worry about that, queen." The poor girl is speechless. He already puts the memory card in, and the little dog turns on, all happy jumping. Lipping, her hero still says to her, "I even like having company, but sometimes they're too messy, so I just leave one activated." In her view, all of this was a plan for her to be embarrassed. Seeing his distorted smile, she already falls on the bed, not understanding anything. There's no way. It's impossible. Suddenly, she smells something and says, "What's that smell?" Liping says, "I saw you passed out, so I prepared a little meal here to warm you up, and it's ready, all made with the farmer ingredients he grew." But after being a farmer, therefore, the time his level of cultivation is the maximum. The queen looks at the food and says, "Why did you bother with this? Only the weak need to eat. I have transcended, I don't need these things." But she smells the food and ends up feeling like eating. Our hero says, "I myself cultivated all these vegetables and grains. Please try it." In his head, he just wants to resolve the conflict with food. She's still hesitant, but decides to try it, speechless. The protagonist is thinking, even though he has practiced cooking for so many years, would what he cooks be able to please someone of the queen demon's royalty status? She takes some more and bites, takes another, and already thinks with each bite the meat juices explode in my mouth like fireworks. Not to mention that the flavor is so natural, and it still contains a very high amount of magical energy. Who would have thought that there are delicacies in this world that would please even the demon queen? I can't do anything but swallow every last bite of his meat. At that moment, she feels something exploding inside her and complains to him that it's too spicy. What did you do with this food? Lai Ping is scared, saying that the only thing he did was put a little chili, which is something he likes. Can't the demon queen handle spicy food? The queen is suffering and thinking. It was obvious, as if this hero was going to be so nice, he's only trapping me, he used me for experiments. He brings her a soup, saying it will help reduce the burning. She stares and thinks he gave me the poison and now he's giving me the antidote. Really, I'm playing in the palms of this hero. It's such an uncomfortable feeling, though. Suddenly, she transcends and goes to heaven with the protagonist's meat in her mouth. The taste is so comfortable, so peaceful. The war between the demon queen and the hero, none of that matters to me anymore. I'm going to forget everything and live quietly, because I finally discovered how insignificant I am. The food has such a high magical concentration that it even evolves her. Getting stronger, she gets confused. She looks at him and says, "Stop pretending. What do you want from me?" Lai Ping, feeling awkward, says, "What do you think? I just wanted to do some research to see if the demon queen and the hero could live together." But she interprets it differently. In this world, you are the only one qualified to be my research slave. Since I'm the hero, so come here, I will help you get stronger to see if one day you can beat me. Our protagonist asks, "Do you agree with this? I'll keep making delicious food to serve you." While the queen is losing her mind, saying that a knight may die, but not passing so much shame, especially her, demon queen. She is sure that the protagonist's plan is to make her stronger to see if she has any chance of facing him. Thinking about it, she turns there, goes to the bed, stands up, and announces, "I agree with you, but there are two conditions. First, I am not doing this because I am afraid of you, but because I want to reach the pinnacle and be the strongest in the world." Lai Ping is confused. The demon queen, does she not know she can kill me? She continues, "Second, as long as I am here, don't think I will bow my head. I will never submit to you. My dignity as the great queen must never be violated. If that happens, even if I have to sacrifice everything, I will destroy you." Our hero is all embarrassed and says, "Understood. Understood. Okay, let's be friends. Let's stay close to each other." She gives him a stare and says, "It's okay if you want to do research. Feel free. And another thing, if there's anything tasty, give me some." And our hero agrees. A year has passed, and our protagonist is using the legendary prophecy sword to chop wood. While he thinks things have kind of complicated, because after the queen forced her way into the house, he lost the camouflage that hid the house from the whole world. And the monsters that keep passing by there don't seem easy to deal with. But obviously, when they sense the queen's presence in the house, they don't dare to attack. The problem is that he imagines as soon as the queen leaves, he'll probably lose his house. From inside, the queen is screaming angrily, asking why lunch isn't ready yet. In our protagonist's head, he can't let her escape, he needs her protection. Meanwhile, in the living room, the naughty queen is watching some high-quality content. And besides, after eating so much this whole year, she got chubby. She says, "I'm tired of watching these same recordings. Don't you have anything more from that system?" Lai Ping responds, "I've told you, the system has been gone for a long time. Come over here, I made lunch." She thinks about getting up, but instead of walking, she conjures two little wings to fly over to the table. She looks at Lai Ping and says, "What kind of poison is in these potatoes here? It seems that the more I eat this, the lazier I become." She ponders. This darn guy using delicious food to paralyze me with his slow-acting poison and still trying to lead me to total depravity with these extremely provocative images, deluded. Lai Ping tries to explain it's just that these potatoes have a lot of calories, and then by eating a lot, you start to gain weight and get kind of lazy. At that moment, she looks down and sees her belly, but then she conjures magic there, and there, turn all the energy from the belly into magical energy, turning into a mega babe. The protagonist is impressed. Can magic be used in this way? She stares at him and says, "Haha, another of your tricks didn't work. Are you disappointed?" Lai Ping tells her, "Yes, I am very disappointed now, let's eat already." She looks at the table, he says, "Wow, today's food is perfect. I won't hold back," and starts eating. Lai Ping lets some words in the air. "As much as she eats a lot, I always manage to go and make more food, right? And besides, I'll have to get used to it anyway, since we're going to live like this for a long time." Her interpretation, of course, is completely different. "You're still very weak. I'll have to fatten you a lot before I kill you." So he gets up and says, "I'll get you a dessert." She, on the other hand, can't stand it anymore, thinking the jerk keeps treating me like a pig, feeding me with these magical foods. I've evolved more than 10 times just this year. It's not possible that now I don't have enough power to challenge him. It's time for the great decisive battle. But right at that moment, our hero already gets the little pudding and says, "Here, your favorite here, look." Her eyes sparkle and she goes all happy to eat. The prota thinks even though she's the demon queen, she's not very difficult to deal with, you just need the right food. The scene changes to an old man running away with a blonde girl. They are being chased by some creatures in purple cloaks and white masks, who are throwing some powers in their direction, until they get trapped in a magic cage and have to stop to fight. It's the father and his daughter. He turns to her and says, "I'll hold them here." He runs to the city and try to find a safe place. The daughter replies, I don't want to leave you here and escape alone. But the father retorts, I promised your mother I would protect you until the end. The creatures are already conjuring a massive magic to attack them. The father then says it's time to use the strongest power of all and sends a slash of white light that cuts the enemy who was conjuring the magic in half. But the guy seems to be made of slime and already reassembles. The daughter tries to shoot an arrow, but her attacks just go through the monsters. The father warns, there's no way you can help with your arrows, just run to the city and flee. The monster comes to punch her, but the father manages to defend. But unfortunately, he is thrown far away, hits his back on the rock, and is already all bloody. Almost dying, he says, don't come help me, just run away. Then the creatures begin to gather and transform into a giant monster. The daughter says to the monster, please, I'll go with you. Just let my father go alive. But at that moment, she feels she's about to die. But suddenly, what seems to be a gigantic mammoth appears, crushing the creature. On top of the gigantic mammoth, there's a house. On top of the house, there's an elder ninja frog leader. And on top of the elder ninja frog leader's head, there's a doghouse with the protagonist's little robot. The frog speaks to the dog, Big brother, what are we going to do with these two harmless humans? The little dog replies, don't hurt them. I'll take them back to the master. In the next scene, the girl is waking up at Lai Ping's house, all confused about what's happening, looking around. She wonders, where am I? What happened? As far as I remember, my father was by my side about to die. She then gets up, rushes to the door, and opens it. When she looks, her father is showing some bodybuilder poses to our protagonist, who asks him, wow, how do I get a physique like that? The father replies, a warrior's physique is something fundamental. You have to take better care of yourself, my boy. Lai Ping thinks, so this is the so-called warrior profession that I hear so much about. It's amazing. The little dog is all happy walking around the queen, who, annoyed, kicks him and says, who told you to bring these two here to my house? Stupid dog. The little dog gets all sad and starts crying. And our protagonist keeps squeezing the guy's muscles, saying, wow, you're so resilient. The father says, okay then. If a great Li Ping doesn't mind, I won't hide it either. He then bursts out of his clothes and our hero just admires, while the daughter is thinking, Dad, what are you doing there? Oops. Then she notices the presence of her daughter, and our guide tries to explain the situation. But the demon queen already goes to her and says, there now that you're awake, Scram. I'm warning you, I got here first. Lai Ping, trying to calm the situation, says, relax. Let's go inside. He then serves some tea and says, sorry for not having anything to offer you too. It's a rural place and I do everything myself. So it's all very simple. The boy looking asks, Dad, is this the miraculous potion you talked about that cured you instantly? Our protagonist is embarrassed. I think calling this a miraculous potion is a bit exaggerated. It's just a little boil of water with some herbs. The queen is furious on the side. Damn it. Why did this dog bring these two weak humans here? Is Li Ping not satisfied with just me? Am I not enough in this house? The father begins to explain the situation, saying that he was completely unconscious and vaguely remembers. But he remembers the dog bringing him, and then when he took a sip of the drink, he transcended instantly and was completely healed, becoming stronger than ever, and says, daughter, if it weren't for the great Li Ping, I could never see you again. She looks at the tea and thinks, wow, but this here is so precious. Can we really drink this? Our hero says, you adventurers are so humble, but relax. You can drink it. No problem. They thank him and start drinking. Instantly, both transcend, going through a myriad of events, ending up in the cornfield, crying on the ground, birds flying around, a circle with an alien ship passing by. Both are confused, and the father instantly goes from a 3-star archmage to 4 stars, and the girl goes from a 1-star mage to a 1-star archmage. The father turns to his daughter and says, girl, our level has advanced instantly, and she replies, indeed. I even feel that the elven blood from my mother's lineage was awakened by this drink. New ears grew on my head. I really checked and she didn't have ears before. The two are dismayed to realize how much stronger Lai Ping is. For them, that is an unattainable power. They even get demotivated. The protagonist looks and says, relax, I'll serve another glass for you. The father crying says, it's okay, Mr. Li Ping. It's enough. The father is thinking, Mr. Lai Ping is a heaven-sent person. I can't cause any more trouble for him. Our hero says, all right, thinking I wanted to serve some different drinks and food. But unfortunately, Elizabeth took and hid everything. And if I take it to serve them, she'll kill everyone. And she's right there saying, everything here is mine. Don't even think about taking anything else. Our hero lets out a sigh saying, yeah, really, you don't have anything else to serve. I'm sorry you were attacked, right? What happened? The father explains that they were attacked because of the elven lineage in the daughter's body. Her mother was a great saint elf. However, her husband was of the human race. And for elves, it is forbidden to marry any other race. So the protagonist asks, oh, so the elves are hunting you down. The queen interrupts saying, stop lying. The demon queen banned interracial marriage long ago when she conquered the world. The father said it's a long story, but since her mother had to return to the elven place, he had to hide his daughter all this time. Lai Ping then asks, but even so, if they know where you are, how do they find you? The father explains that actually the mother was a sacrifice, and since she returned to the elven tribe, they are no longer being hunted. But but now it's the Black Guild of the Demon Kingdom that's after them. Lai Ping looks to the side thinking, demons, the Black Guild, could it be you? She is angry and points her finger at him, who apologizes. She sits down and tells him to explain where this Black Guild of Demons is wanting to capture elves from. The father explains that apparently this Black Guild is conducting experiments on living bodies to try to bring the Demon Queen back from the dead, and elves are necessary materials. They are trying so hard that even the daughter, who is not of pure lineage, is being hunted. Lai Ping looks thinking, I guess that has something to do with you, doesn't it? The queen grabs him and starts shaking him, telling him not to even think about it. Then she says it doesn't make sense for her to have been here for a whole year and for him to have always seen her, so she couldn't have left. The father and daughter are confused. The queen says, wow, just with my absence for a year, the land is destroyed like this, who has been spreading the rumor that the queen is dead. But they tell her, Queen Elizabeth hasn't been seen for over 500 years. If she were alive, she would have appeared to take over the whole world again. She must be dead, right? Lai Ping is biting his fingers, thinking, 500 years? She's been living here with me for a year. The queen sits on the couch and asks, what are the rumors of her death? The elf explains that according to the great literary legend, the queen was destroyed by the legendary hero. The father continues, the battle lasted for over a month until finally the great hero sacrificed himself to protect the continent and died along with the demon queen. At this point, the queen gives a glare at the two and takes them to a death world. The daughter asks, Father, what place is this? The father says that it is her pure intention to kill the two. The queen then says, all this rumor is false, and he just agrees. Lai Ping said it must also be a false rumor because he is the legendary hero. At least that's what the system said. Father and daughter then are left without understanding anything. Lai Ping explains, and this one here, which you're all talking about, is Queen Elizabeth. The two start exploding with excess information. Their brains can't reason with all this. From the queen's point of view, the interpretation is different. Look at this fool here. I've dominated her for so long, she doesn't even know what to do, laughs in her face. With that, she gets the table angrily, saying she's not going to stay here entertaining them. Thinking Dan Li Ping, you stinker, it seems like you only saved them to humiliate me in front of them. This time you went too far. She slams the door and leaves. The father then asks Lai Ping, what are your plans for the future? What are you going to do with us? Our hero says he needs to calm down because even he doesn't know what to do after Elizabeth broke the barrier. The synchronization of time inside and outside became completely messed up. Night falls and the daughter is talking to her father. Wow, I didn't expect your story to be like this. Apparently, the great demon queen fell in love with the legendary hero and gave up the whole world just to hide with him, just like you did with Mom. The father replies, stop talking nonsense, we can't even compare to them. And another thing, at this moment, Lai Ping must be considering whether he kills us or not. The daughter said, but if he were going to kill us, he wouldn't have saved us. Why did he save us to kill us? But the father says, did you not drink that tea? Did you not realize how distant they are? Just by seeing his power, you should know that for them we are no more than ants. Whether we stay alive or not, none of that matters to them. It all depends on how they're feeling at the time. At this point, the protagonist enters the room and says, so it seems like you two haven't slept yet. What are you talking about? The elf gets scared. If you haven't slept yet, how about we play some cards? The father plays some cards. The three are then sitting around a candle. Lai Ping asks, did you understand everything? The father basically said that while the elf girl is thinking. It's like my father said, this here is Lai Ping's test to decide if he's going to kill us or not. Our hero then says, so now I'll start dealing the cards. The father swallows hard and says, Mr. Lai Ping, could I ask you what the name of this game is? The elf girl is terrified because there's an aura emanating from the deck. Our protagonist thinks I can't say we're going to play Landlord. The people in this world won't even understand those words. I know then he says, the name of this game here is Dragon Battle. Surprised, they say, Dragon Battle. Elizabeth, who is nearby disguised, also gets confused. Dragon Battle? What does he want to do with them? Lai Ping explains, you two brave heroes have to join forces to defeat the dragon. We'll decide who the dragon is and who the heroes are based on the cards we draw. The father and daughter stare at each other, both thinking this is definitely a test. Nasram then says, I'll start dealing the cards now. Remember, choose very carefully. Lai Ping pulls his hand, I'll take a look at my cards first. The father looks at his son and says, we can't hesitate now. Draw your cards. All right, there's already a weird mana coming out of the deck. She then draws a card and the two are taken to another dimension. The poor girl is staggering, leaning on the ground thinking, this isn't good. Just by drawing a card, my mana was completely drained. I'm powerless. She looks at her father and says, I'm sorry. And he replies, it's okay, my daughter, leave the rest to me. Lai Ping asks, you want to be a dragon? He stares at his hand thinking, even though I don't have many big cards, it's still a pretty good hand. Not to mention there's a king. This isn't bad at all. It can win. The father and daughter say they have no intention of being the dragon. Lai Ping, on the other hand, is having fun. If I can get another 4 and an ace, I'll have a winning hand. He asked again, are you sure you don't want to? They reply that they don't. Lai Ping says, since that's the case, I won't be polite. And he puts his hand on the deck and draws 2. Then he throws an 8, a 10, and a queen. He is dissatisfied with the cards he drew and looks disappointed. The father thinks, what happened? We didn't do anything. Is Mr. Lipping dissatisfied with our performance? Nosa then says, I'll start with an 8. It's your turn, Uncle Beerus. Uncle is already sweating cold. If we can pass this test, he'll spare us. I can't give up, but I'm feeling. Every time I play a card, it costs me a few years of my life. My life force is being drained. Trembling, he says, I play a jack. The daughter says, Father, but he interrupts, saying it's okay. Leave it to me. She then says she'll pass. Liping thinks about their strategy. Besides the royal flush, they can make a sequence from 7 to the queen. Only the 10 and the jack are left. Should I break with the pair? If I do, they'll play a 2. Thinking of various strategies but unable to come to a good conclusion, he says he'll pass too. The father asks, are you really not going to play? Liping says no. The father is confused, thinking, this Liping, he's making me play these cards to consume all my life. Since that's the case, I need to get rid of all this as quickly as possible. He then plays 2 queens, 3 6, 3 7s, according to the rules. This combination of cards is called Flying Dragon. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like all the life energy from his leg was drained. The price for this was a leg. The bigger the cards, the higher the price to be paid. A flying dragon appears between them and both are confused. What is this? The creature then uses a power and hits Liping on the head. Elizabeth watching everything. The father is afraid, thinking he made a wrong card combination. I just offended the legendary hero. But our hero is very calm and says, well played. The father says, it's your turn now, Mr. Liping. However, our hero responds, I'll just pass. You can go again. The father says, all right, and plays a 3, his fingers and leg already starting to feel lifeless. The elf daughter says she'll pass too. Our protagonist then says, my turn, and plays a 10. Both look at each other knowing they can't beat that hand. Liping reveals 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, and queen, a sequence. Now it's trouble for the 2 of them. Giant destructive waves begin to appear, and they are both drowning. The father tries to save his daughter, but it's hard to resist the waves. Until they both wake up breathless. I can't play, but our protagonist is calm. Now there are 3 kinds with a pair summoning a group of knights. The father tells his daughter he can't win, but the elf girl says, hold on, I can. The father tells her not to do it will cost too much life force and is very risky. But she says, I can't just hide. I also want to protect you and I'll play 3 of a kind with a pair. The knights then go against each other beyond. A battle in the skies ensues and only her knight remains. The father asks if his daughter is okay and she says yes. Liping praises her move, saying, you really have to protect your allies even if you have to sacrifice your own cards. The most important thing is that determination. Our protagonist thinks, I didn't expect them to learn how to play cards so quickly. The father looks at his dwindling hand. Determination? At that moment, Liping says, now it's too late. The father and daughter are scared of Mr. Liping. Elizabeth thinks things are getting bad. This aura is frightening. Our protagonist then plays 2 jokers. The dimension begins to shatter and a killer clown appears above. Elizabeth seems to recognize what he summoned, saying it's a 3-star demon, a clown king. He was about to attack the other 2, making a heart. But then he notices Elizabeth and says, what are you looking at, huh? Turning the heart into a knife. You better be careful, or I'll kill you. Elizabeth tries to defend herself. Who do you think I am to belittle? But she's angry. All this time she's been absorbing everything the protagonist has been doing for her, and theoretically giving all the possible energy. But she just reached the 3-star level. But this creature that Liping summoned is a 3-star demon. She's confused. How can he summon something of the same power level as me so easily? The father looks at his daughter and says, Elif, I'm sorry, but I don't have this power. It's okay, Gad. How can you blame yourself? It's all my fault. I annoyed Mr. Liping. The poor man is spitting blood, saying, my life force. It's being drained. Liping sees him spitting blood and asks, Uncle, are you okay? Thinking, wow, I don't think his injuries have healed yet. He sees the old man's hand that had 3 3s and 4 kings and says, wow, he could have won a long time ago. He was just letting me play with him. Man, I was so naive thinking I was good. It seems like I just disrupted his rest. With that, he says it's all right and takes all the cards. The dimension dissolves along with the demon, and he stands up, saying, sorry for causing trouble. The father and daughter can't understand the legendary hero, but they are relieved to see they are still alive. Elizabeth is angry, thinking, that ridiculous Liping. He pretended to want to play cards with those 2 just to take advantage of this opportunity and hit me with that clown. The next day in the morning, the 2 are leaving and Liping says, Uncle Bass, do you really not want to stay a few more days? The fruits I planted are almost ripe. He bows, we can't disturb you 2 anymore. Mr. Liping has already been very charitable and gracious. We will never forget. Our hero is a little embarrassed and says, it wasn't that serious. The father says, don't worry. After we leave, we won't tell anyone about what happened here. The elf girl with presents in her hand asks Mr. Liping, do you still want to give us something so precious? But he says, it's just a little tea. No problem. Approaching the old man, he puts something in his hand and says to him, oh, and here's something for you too. A memento for you, uncle. The The father looks to see what it is, and it's the deck of cards. Li Ping says, "You can keep that. My card skills are very bad. I'm not cut out for this." Then Elizabeth appears, saying, "Hey." He looks at her, and she just opens her mouth. "Go ahead. Get out of here." They both run away, and Li Ping is left somewhat confused. She enters, "Well, now that everything is back to normal, it's time to make some food for this queen here." Our protagonist simply agrees. The father and daughter are running as fast as they can. The daughter asks her father to stop, saying, "I can't take it anymore." But he tells her, "We can't stop. First there was that game of the legendary card test, and then a threat from the demon queen. And then he remembers the night before. The two of them were in the room. When suddenly Elizabeth appeared and cut off their heads, saying, 'I, Elizabeth, command you two to leave this place tomorrow. You must not reveal any information about this demon queen and the legendary hero to the world.' The two replied, 'Yes, your majesty.' The queen explained, 'If you have any plans to go against this queen, your head will be destroyed immediately by the curse on your neck.' The father then tells his daughter, who would believe that the truth of the story is that the great hero Li Ping grew tired of the world's conflict and didn't want to cause harm anymore. At that moment, the daughter says, 'Wait, isn't this place familiar?' He takes a look. 'Huh, did we run this far?' The little dog nearby thinks, bringing them here should be enough for them to stop bothering the master and that evil woman. In fact, they didn't run that far. The little dog just grabbed the two and took them on a rocket ride. The daughter then says, 'Are the bodies of the Black Guild apostles still here?' The father starts looking around. There must be several types of high-level demons nearby. We have to get out as soon as possible. The little dog looks at something approaching and thinks, 'What is that? Whatever. I'm going back home to keep being beaten by that wicked woman.' Those who felt sorry for the little dog being beaten up now know that he quite enjoyed it. In front of the two, a legion of shadows appears. One of the demons that appears lets out a hee-hee, and the others follow with a goo-goo. The father says, 'I recognize that one. He's the great apostle. And he's a 2-star spiritual demon. Besides, there are several 4-star and 3-star spiritual demons, while the father and daughter are just 2 great mages of 1 star. She grabs his arm and says, 'Dad, the difference in strength is too great. Leave me. You can escape.' But the father is now motivated. 'I know the difference in our strength is really huge. But after seeing the realm of those two, these apostles here are nothing. Your father used to be called the Iron Heart of the Heroes.' He points the deck in their direction. 'Daughter.' The demon is scared. The father says, 'Since your mother returned to the Elven tribe, your father has been taking care of you and being cautious. But I was wrong. Escaping won't solve the problem. If we can solve this, I'll take you back to the tribe and go after your mother.' He activates a quad invocation, descendant of the god of the 4-card arrow. An elf appears in the invocation. It's literally her mother. The mother grabs a giant bow and arrow and sends it towards the creatures. Upon contact, the creatures are instantly destroyed. Everyone is being evaporated. The great apostle tries to hold onto the arrow and seems to do so effortlessly. But the arrow in his hand continues to gain strength. After some resistance, his head explodes. The father puts away the deck, the elf disappears, and he falls to the ground. The daughter runs, saying, "Dad, Dad." The father says to her, "It seems your father must change professions. From now on, a new profession has been born on this continent, the Master of Cards." And the elf creates a hole in the path.